here, ladies and gentlemen. It's your boy Icon with some DC TV, and we are reviewing the debut, the pilot episode of Naomi. Now, I'm gonna say right out the gate, the episode gave me Stargirl vibes, and we'll get to we'll get to that in a minute, but like towards the end. But let's start, because instead of getting like the Flash return, like Naomi, because like Superman and Lois and the Flash usually both came, like last season they both came on at the same time, but they've decided to drop Naomi in that secondary slot, so the Flash will probably come back in the spring or whatever. So like let's kick it off and see where our newest hero in the DC universe is up to. So now this particular episode starts. They let you into her life. They show you who she is, and this is also pretty interesting, because every time we see a hero and we see a potential hero or superhero, it's usually someone that's like not popular, someone who's like nerdy, geeky, quiet, timid, somebody that gets bullied or pushed around. This girl is actually extremely popular. Like, she's cool, like she rides a skateboard, she's a nerd, like all the kids in school know her, like she's athletic and she's got all the skills, and she's one of the most popular kids in school. But what's very cool about her is she's also a nerd, and she has a Superman website that she runs on her own. She's very obsessed with the Man of Steel, and one of the reasons why she is obsessed with Superman is because, just like her, Superman is adopted. And I guess that was in the comic book, because she was having a conversation with a guy that she knows, and he was just saying like he didn't understand like her obsession with all these heroes, but he was like, he's like, plus like they're not real anyway. And when he said that, I was just like, wait a minute, if Superman's not real, now the questions of what Earth she's on is starting to come up, because on Earth Prime, like in the Arrowverse, everybody knows that Superman and Supergirl exist. And in this town, I don't even know what town they're in, but they're all acting like Superman don't exist. So she's definitely like, I don't think she's on the same Earth as like everybody else. Her parents, they showed her adoptive parents, and her father looks exactly like the general on Superman and Lois that Superman is currently beefing with. There are a lot of things about this show that actually ties into the current storyline on Superman and Lois, such as these powerful people and the general and this, that, and the third. So while she's at school, she's just basically she's in debate class, and then all of a sudden, she gets a text from her friend saying that something happened and it involves Superman. She goes running down to where the situation is, and by the time she gets in there, she passes out. Just before she passes out, she looks up in the sky and she sees Superman flying overhead. So when she wakes up, she goes to the town square, and then everybody says that she missed the whole thing. She said that Superman came out of nowhere. He was fighting this blue alien thing, and then he beat up the blue person, picked him up, and then he flew away. But because nobody thinks Superman is real, everybody thinks that was some sort of like stunt, like some theatrical stunt, and they're trying to figure out how it was pulled off. And a lot of people blame the military, because they live in a military town, I guess there's a military base next to the town that they live in. So all the kids, like majority of the kids, they're mixed in with the regular townsfolk. So like the military was blamed, like a lot for the Superman incident as well. But because Naomi's like a Superman, super fan, she's trying to figure it out. She's trying to determine what's going on. Even like with the ringing, because she thought the ringing was weird, but she didn't really make too much of it. So she's going around, she's trying to get clues, she's trying to figure out what's going on. And while she's going through the town, there are these random people that just keep popping up out of nowhere. Like this guy who runs a car, like a used car lot. He's watching her as she goes skateboarding by. There's another guy, like he works at a tattoo parlor. He's just randomly watching her as she goes by. Like all these people are like watching her, and there's like these weird people dressed in like nice clothes watching her, like while she's doing the whole thing, while she's doing her investigation. And then when she got a little bit of information, then like all of a sudden, like the cameras started being broken, people's phones started disappearing, information anybody had about the Superman incident, like quickly started disappearing. So now she's like, something's really going on around here, because she's like, every time I try to investigate this thing, all the information that I get ends up missing. There was even a situation where her and a friend of hers, he had put some footage together, and he actually had footage of the Superman fight itself, where it shows the actual Superman. And then watching the Superman fight was the guy who works at the tattoo parlor, which was somebody that Naomi knew, or I guess she was aware of. So her and her friend, like, they go down to the tattoo parlor and they speak to the tattoo guy. Like, the tattoo guy kind of slipped up because when Naomi came into the room, he was just like, he was saying things. He was just like, oh, he was like, you're wearing glasses now. I didn't know you needed glasses. And then he had made mention, he was like, oh, March 14th was the day that you got adopted. And then she's looking at him like, how do you know all this information about me? And then he was like, oh, the internet. And I thought that was funny. And, and then she went to go confront her parents, like her adopted parents. And she was asking her parents, she was like, why does he know that I wear glasses? Why does this guy know my adoption date? She was like, hell, why am I even wearing glasses? Because every time I wear them, like, I feel weird. And then her parents kind of like brushed it off, and they were just like, oh, you have like a condition or something. And they kind of try to like sweep everything under the rug. She goes back to school. She goes to her debate class. While she's in her debate class, the military showed up, which I thought was weird because now it's starting to get to the point where everybody's like, yo, she's getting a little bit too close because she's searching for these answers. And when the military showed up, she heard that same weird noise again, and she passed out again, just like she did the first time when Superman showed up. We're at the point now where she's starting to question herself. She's starting to question like what's going on, and she's starting to question everybody else around her because the answers that she's getting just honestly don't make sense. There was even a moment where she took her glasses off and she was able to read a piece of paper that the military had. So like it was almost like her vision was able to zoom in on something, and she was able to read a paper that said that it had something to do with like the forest and Superman and everything. So she's questioning herself, like, how does she know this? It's like she's questioning the glasses, looking at her parents funny, and she's trying to figure out her own answers, and now she's determined to try to figure out what's going on. She goes to the forest to investigate and look for clues. When she gets to the forest, she finds a stone. And the stone, like, it meant something to her. Like, she felt something from it. She thought it was weird. And then, she was going to take it to her friends to see if she can come up with some information. And then all of a sudden, like, this black dude come out of nowhere. One of the guys, I guess, who was stalking her, like, in the town throughout the episode, he showed up. And then he told her, he was like, look, woman, I'm going to need the stone. And then she was like, you can't have it. And then he was like, I'm going to take what's mine. Because he's like, I'm tired of being a sheep. It's time for me to be a wolf. And while he was like coming towards her, walking towards her, all of a sudden, like, this wind vortex started coming around her. And, like this, it was almost like the trees were blowing and everything. It was like this real like earth shaking type thing started happening. And then she said to the guy, she was like, what are you doing? Stop doing it. And then he looked at her. He was like, what makes you think that's coming from me? And then she had to look at herself because, the guy got the stone from her. And then now she's really freaking out because she was just like, yo, I don't know how I did that. But she needs to get answers. And she's trying to get answers from the car dealership. So she gets all of her friends to help her bust into the car dealership to try to get these answers. They go into the car dealership, they find a safe, but they couldn't crack the safe open to get the answers that she needs. Because now she's questioning her entire existence, but she doesn't actually want to say that yet. But since she couldn't get answers from the safe, she ends up going back to the tattoo parlor to talk to the tattoo guy. And when she spoke to him, she said, listen, earlier you acted like you knew me. You act like you knew information about me. I'm here for answers. And then he was like, you're asking the wrong questions. And then he was just like, well, at this point, he was like, at this point, it was time. I guess it was time for me to tell you, because the thing is, another reason why she wanted to talk to him, although she couldn't get into the safe, she found old files about the day that she got adopted. And that guy was in one of those pictures, and then when she looked at the picture, she was just like, yo, this dude looks exactly the same. And that was like 15 years ago. So she's like, he has to have something to do with this. So, and then he was just like, well, it's time. He was like, the world isn't safe for people like us. And then she's like, people like us. And then he did something where like iron wings came out of his back. So that was interesting, and then when the iron wings came out of his back, she was just like, oh my God, what are you? And then he was like, you're still asking the wrong question. He was like, the question isn't who am I? And then she thought that's when it clicked. And she was just like, no, the real question is like, who am I? Because she was making that wind vortex again when she saw him bust out his wings. So now she's aware of the fact that she might not be human or from this planet. Her existence of whatever she is, whether it's alien, whether she's metahuman or, whatever, it seems like it's something that the entire town is aware of, and everybody's trying to cover it up. But we'll obviously get those, like those answers in the next episode, because her parents are clearly in on it, because her parents are the ones who gave her the glasses. Like the military has to know something about it. I don't know if everybody is trying to like protect her. I don't know if her fellow like alien brethren, if they're trying to protect her. Maybe she's like the queen or a princess on the planet that they come from. I don't know what Superman has to do with this, but it's definitely a very interesting story. And for the superhero aspect of the story, I do want to see where this goes further, as far as like her origin, how does she tie into these other people, the whole thing, what her powers are, and how everything comes to fruition. So that was basically how the episode ended, with her asking the question, like, who am I? For the pilot episode, they did get me hooked, as far as like I am invested to see where the show goes from here. Now, the problem that I have with the show, at least in the first episode, the issue that I have with it is the teenage aspect of it definitely gave me Stargirl vibes in the beginning, because that's how I felt about Stargirl in the beginning. I was praying that Stargirl wasn't an episode full of like teenage drama. Thankfully, it didn't turn into that. The only issue that I have with the show is that they're doing the whole thing where they can't help themselves but to go over like the traditional like CW tropes, and like the whole thing about checking certain boxes. And it's like unnecessarily checking boxes, because when the show actually got started, when we were talking about the show, about her origin, about who she is, getting into the power aspect of it, see, that thing was cool. But before we got there, we had to check all the boxes of, okay, she's a black girl who has a biracial, she's a black girl who has non-black parents. Well, first of all, I don't know what her mom is. I don't know if her mom's Spanish, Indian, light-skinned, black, like racially ambiguous. Like, I don't know what her mom is, but she got a white daddy, and I don't know why, like, her adopted parents couldn't be black, but we had to know about her, like her sexual preference, because like she dates everybody, like she dates men, she dates women, she dates interracially, she likes white guys, black guys, Latin girls, like she dates everybody. That was completely unnecessary, but they felt the need to tell us that. She has like the quirky best friend, and it was just like the personal aspects of it was just very CW-ish. Once we got past all the box checking, then we were able to actually like get into the show. So like I said, so for that, I do want to see where the show goes from here, and I am interested because I want to see where Superman himself ties in, because on Superman and Lois, they're doing a thing where the general, he has his own team of superpowered people that he's using to help save the world, or help save the United States, because Superman doesn't want to work with the government. And Superman keeps hearing like these weird harmonic noises and these weird sounds. It makes like her story kind of like lines up perfectly with that, because she keeps hearing like these weird harmonic sounds. And the town seems to be full of like these superpowered people that she's not aware of. So I feel like, and like I said, and the guy who's playing her dad, her foster dad, or her adopted dad, looks like the general on Superman and Lois. So if the shows mirrored each other, like if what's happening on Naomi is also happening on Superman and Lois, I thought that would be really cool. But because they're playing the whole thing about Superman not being from this earth and being a comic book, and everybody being surprised that he actually exists, now I'm kind of feeling like she is on a different earth. And like I said, we'll see how that whole thing ties in. But if Tyler Hoechlin's Superman shows up at some point, tells her like nice glasses or something, that'd actually be pretty cool. But like I said, we just need answers. But it's only the pilot, so we'll see how the show progresses further in the next episode. So that was it, and thank you for tuning in. So like I said, a lot happened. The show definitely picked up in the second half. Like, it got more interesting in the second half. And if we stick to the storyline that we got in the second half, if we stick to that, then like I said, then I'll definitely be okay with it. But it was definitely good right out the gate. It was enjoyable. It was enough to keep me interested, and I definitely want to see what happens next week. So check me out on Twitter, check me out on Instagram, share your thoughts on Naomi, what you thought about it, what you thought about the first episode. Were there things that bothered you? Were there things that didn't bother you? Like, are you intrigued with the whole thing about who she is and where she comes from? And, like, how does she tie into the Arrowverse? If she ties into the Arrowverse, and where we go from here. Definitely subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already, because we're also going over all the DC TV shows that are out right now, like Peacemaker, Legends of Tomorrow, Batwoman, and Superman and Lois, obviously. So thanks for tuning in, guys. So until episode 2 of Naomi, take care. Until episode 3, we're out this bitch.